You know, some places are just rock and stone. Others have a story. But then there's Montserrat. It's a mountain, sure, but it's also a monastery, a cultural treasure trove, and a powerful national symbol all rolled into one. So let's go on a journey, shall we? Let's get inside this mountain of secrets and uncover the stories that are literally carved into its stone. I mean, just look at it. When you first see Montserrat's, its peaks are so jagged they almost don't look real. They actually call it the serrated mountain, and you can totally see why. But here's the thing. As incredible as it is from the outside, the stuff that really defines Montserrat is what's hidden away inside. We're talking about a story of faith, of art, and of an identity that helped shape an entire nation. All right, so how does a mountain like this become so important? How does it go from being just a crazy-looking landscape to a sacred place? Well, it all starts with two very, very different stories about how it was even created. One from science, and the other from pure legend. And the contrast here is just fantastic. On one hand, you've got the geology. 65 million years ago, this whole area was the bottom of the sea. Tectonic forces basically squeezed and shoved this massive rock formation straight up, and then wind and rain spent the next few million years carving it into the wild shapes we see today. But the legend? Oh, the legend is way more poetic. It says that angels came down from heaven with actual golden saws to carve a throne fit for the Virgin Mary. I mean, both stories are really just trying to explain the same thing, the absolute majesty of this place. And that throne? Well, it was for her, La Moreneta, which affectionately means the little black one. The story goes that way back in the year 880, some shepherds saw this strange light and heard music coming out of a cave on the mountain. When they went to check it out, they found this statue. But here's the twist. When they tried to move her, she became impossibly heavy. They just couldn't lift her. It was a sign, you see. She wanted to stay right there, on her mountain. And because she wanted to stay, Montserrat became a huge pilgrimage site. And you know what happens when pilgrims start showing up? A spiritual community isn't far behind. And that's where we find the real beating heart of this place. For more than 1,000 years, Benedictine monks have been the caretakers here at Montserrat. Their entire way of life, everything they do, is guided by this one simple but really powerful motto, ora et labora. It means prayer and work. And this isn't just some dusty old saying. It shapes their whole day. The monks come together for prayer 5 times every single day, and that really sets the rhythm for the whole monastery. Their hospitality is legendary. They welcome everyone from pilgrims to refugees. And their work? Wow, it's immense. We're talking about scientific research, cultural preservation, and even running one of Catalonia's most important publishing houses. This place isn't just a monastery, it's a cultural powerhouse. Now, one of the most famous things to come out of all this dedication to culture is tied to this one year, 1307. So what in the world happened back in 1307? Well, that's the very first year we see the Escolania de Montserrat, the boys' choir mentioned in historical records. That makes it one of the oldest, most respected choirs in all of Europe. For centuries, people have made the journey up this mountain just to hear them sing. And their sound? People have described it as being as rich and deep as red wine. But believe it or not, that world-famous choir is just the beginning of the surprises here. Most people come for a spiritual experience, right? But what they stumble upon is a cultural institution that could go toe-to-toe with museums in any major city. It's pretty amazing. I mean, you look at the abbey, nestled right into the cliffside, you see the beautiful Basilica, and you think you've got this place figured out. But hidden in plain sight is one of the biggest surprises in the entire art world. Because tucked away inside this mountain monastery is a museum. And in that museum, you'll find masterpieces by Caravaggio, El Greco, Monet, Degas, and get this, even 2 of the greats of Catalan modernism, Picasso and Dalí. Yep, all of them. It is an absolutely world-class art collection in the last place on Earth you'd ever expect to find one. Which, of course, leads to the big question, how? How on earth did this happen? How does a quiet religious community way up in the mountains get their hands on a trove of art like this? Well, the answer is an incredible story of destruction and rebirth. See, the original library went all the way back to the 11th century, but it was burned to the ground by Napoleon's army in 1811. But the monks just rebuilt it. Then, in the 20th century, this visionary monk, Father Bonaventura Ubach, started collecting incredible archaeological treasures from the Near East. We're talking actual Egyptian sarcophagi.
You add that to some huge donations from private collectors over the years, and you get the cultural fortress we see today. But the identity of this place goes even deeper than faith and art. For so many people, Montserrat is the very soul of Catalonia. It's a sanctuary for a language, for a culture, and for a whole national identity.
This role really got forged in some crucial moments in history. In 1881, La Moreneta was officially named the patron saint of Catalonia. Fast forward to the Franco dictatorship when the Catalan language was banned. In 1947, in a massive act of defiance, thousands gathered right here and sang forbidden hymns in their own language. Then, in 1970, it became a safe haven for intellectuals protesting the regime. And even today, it's a powerful symbol in the ongoing debate over Catalan independence. And because of all that history, La Moreneta herself has become a pretty complex and sometimes controversial symbol. For a lot of Catalan nationalists, she represents resistance, their culture, their unity. But for others, she's a purely religious figure who they feel has been co-opted for political reasons. It's a perfect example of how one single symbol can mean profoundly different things to different people.
But this potent mix of faith, culture, and identity, well, it hasn't just stayed on one mountain in Catalonia. Oh no. The story and the symbol of Montserrat have traveled all across the globe.
The image of La Moreneta has really taken on a new life in other places. In Puerto Rico, for example, she's known as La Virgen Cimarrona, a figure connected to the history of freed slaves. In Equatorial Guinea, her story actually inspired a local devotion to the Virgin of Basilica. And in Alghero, a city in Sardinia with deep Catalan roots, her icon became a powerful symbol of reconnecting with that heritage. And so, there you have it. What started as a bizarre geological formation and a legendary discovery in a cave became the spiritual heart of a community, a secret museum filled with priceless art, and a powerful symbol of a nation's identity, a mountain with a soul. Which really just leaves us with one last thing to think about. The story of Montserrat is all about the power of a place and all the incredible layers of meaning we build on top of it. But it also brings up a really important question. When a place becomes a symbol for so many different people, who actually gets to decide what it truly means?